Hey guys, welcome back to Unexplained New England. Hope you're all staying spooky in this beautiful New England weather today. It also makes for a great day to listen to some scary stories about New England cryptoids. We also have a special guest with us today who has had a couple stories she researched herself.
Hey guys, I'm Natasha, and the first story I have is about wood devils. Now, when I hear wood devils, I instantly think of haunted trees or demons that haunt the woods. This is actually the exact opposite of that. Picture a skinny, slimmed out Sasquatch. It's said to have light ash gray fur with a similar coat to a short-haired dog, and it has long, lanky legs. Now, these wood devil sightings seem to be localized to the Coos County, which is in the high north end of New Hampshire, basically the Canadian border, near Pittsburgh, Errol, and all those other towns. Now, some state locals have reported seeing these creatures since the 1900s, but the earliest recorded time frame started in 2000. Two documented encounters. First encounter, a man named Evan Lichnowsky and his wife traveled along a path called Dummer Pond Trail through Coos County. There, they spotted a freakishly tall figure as it crossed the road in front of them. It was covered in gray fur with a pointed head and had a long stride. The second encounter occurred on November 15th, 2004. A man was out hunting with his grandfather, and no sooner had the two of them staked out a good spot did they hear an awful squealing. This is a trait associated with the wood devil. The cryptid gives off an odd squeal when frightened. They rounded a bush and came upon the monster. It was like nothing they had seen before. It stood on two legs and was at least 7 feet tall. After the creature ran from them, they took measurements of the tracks it left. The prints were about 15 inches, and they judged the stride at an impressive 4 to 6 feet. Much like the woodwoos or the European wild man, there are a bunch of differences between the wood devils and the Bigfoot. First off, its size is much skinnier and lankier than Bigfoot. Bigfoot's more like the dad bod of cryptids.
Hell yeah. Dad bods are where it is at. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Bigfoot dad bods. I'm telling you right now, y'all are the lifesavers of New England. I'm sorry, go ahead. Keep going. You good. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
This thing's along the lines of the little scrawny kid that's trying to pick up your daughter. Another big difference is their head. Bigfoot is almost like an ape. The wood devils have a coning to their head, almost like the Coneheads. Maybe the movie is based off of them.
You think you can see a Sasquatch in the woods eating an entire sandwich in one bite? Let's go.
I'm not about to find out. According to witnesses, you can almost walk directly into a wood devil before you ever even know it's there. Their gray color and slender build allow them to hide in plain sight by standing against a tree trunk.
Sounds an awful lot like a kid trying to not get caught when it's eating things it shouldn't be eating.
Like our kids. When spotted, they emit awful, heart-wrenching screams. An article I took up from a group called Phantoms and Monsters had an interview with a guy named Just Will. Says
Just Will, he sounds like a real winner. Hey guys, my name is Just Will.
He says, I enjoy photographing the outdoors and try to get out at least once during each season. It was the fall of the year, and I had seen several moose along the Pontotoc Reservoir and the Androscoggin River, so I decided to try and get a few photographs. I parked off of Berlin Road and walked into the woods east of the dam. I walked about 1,000 feet or so. It was very dense and the light was low, so I decided to get closer to the lake where I could pick up some better light. As I turned north, I heard a cracking sound behind me. I turned to see what it was, but saw nothing. So I started to walk toward the area where the sound came from. I hadn't walked far when I saw something tall and thin dart from behind a sugar maple tree and quickly disappear. I stood for a minute, and again this thing came from behind a large maple tree and then vanished again. I tried to get a photograph, but the darn thing was fast, and nothing ever showed up on the shot. It didn't show itself anymore that day. I went back to the location a couple more times, but never witnessed this thing again. There are a lot of legends my father would tell us as kids, but I really never gave it much thought. Some of the people around here used to talk about wood devils in the mountains, but I've never heard about anybody seeing one or anything similar to what I saw. The thing was about 7 foot tall, dark thick fur or hair and thin. Much thinner than a normal man at that height. Like I said, it was very fast and nimble. I never heard a sound other than the footsteps it made when moving. Some people think that the wood devil is also part of the inspiration of the American folklore about the hide behind, which we will go into in a different episode.
So now, to rudely interrupt you. So, back in the day, I was like 16 or 17 years old. Now, I'm not saying it was a wood dove or anything, but it was like me, my brother, Casey, and my brother's friend Dana, and we were all free hiking through the woods, right? Mm-hmm. And we came up to this one spot where we were like tracking a bear, or we thought it was a bear or whatever, big old footprints.
Yeah.
And fuck, hold on. You're staring at me, making me uncomfortable here. All right.
Sorry.
So, we ended up going up there and we heard some like weird growling and shit, and then all of a sudden something like literally 7 feet tall booted across, and none of us talk about it to this day. Still, we're all like, what the fuck, man? That never happened.
That's
Like we imagined it, and then like Cameron brought it up the other day. Like when I was talking about hiking, he's like, "Yeah, remember when we were kids, we were hiking, we saw that thing?" I was like, I literally blacked that memory out because I thought nobody else remembered it but me. And he's like, "No, I remember it." So Casey, if you listen to this, comment. Tell me about that damn fucking thing. I swear to God, I know you were with me. I think Winter was with us too. Like his brother. I think we all went out hiking. It was the first time Winter came out hiking with us. And he was like, "I'm never coming out hiking with you guys again." Like we chalked it up. We were like, "Yeah, it was a bear standing on its legs or something." But
could have
been a wood devil. Could have been a wood devil.
Hey,
it could have been a skinny bear. It could have been going to the gym. Could have been going to the gym. Don't let it fool you. Definitely, the bear could have definitely been going to the gym.
Planet Venice to him.
Alright, how many more stories you got? One, two,
One more.
one? Alright, fine. Whatever.
Is that okay with you?
I think my stories are better, but... Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see
That's
how
cool.
it is.
No, it's cool, though. Don't worry about it. You're doing fine. That's great.
Don't stop it.
No, don't worry about it.
Another outlandish folklore story I have today is about the devil monkeys.
Oh, these where are you from? I remember you telling me about these earlier in the week.
Oh, stop it.
Well, see, there's two different stories about devil monkeys. Because when you were telling me about them, I looked them up. There was one in Danbury, and there was also one in Davisville. But I think the one that you researched was the one in Davisville, not Danbury.
Well, I was a kid back when I was in Danbury, so I wouldn't have known about it.
You tell me your mother would not have been like, "Natasha, there's a monkey out here."
No.
Your mom would have been all over. Your mom would have been all over that.
No, I lived under a rock my entire life.
That's it. We're calling your mom.
We're calling my mom.
Right now, we're gonna ask her about the devil monkeys.
We need to.
All right, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting. Go ahead. You're good.
The devil monkeys have been seen in the Canadian and New England regions, with New Hampshire being one of the places that they supposedly roam, survey says. These primate-type creatures are described in height anywhere from 3 to 8 feet, although generally in the 3 to 4 foot range. In most cases, it is best described as having pointed ears, a snout that is either dog or baboon-like, a big bushy tail, and only 3 toes on each foot.
Turns out it's just someone's beat up dog that they like kicked out of their house.
Oh, that's awful.
You imagine they're like, "Oh, there's a fucking baboon out back," and it's just like someone's weird beat up dog with mange just like growling at them, and they're like, "Oh, that monkey looks really weird."
Oh my god, that's awful.
I'm not a firm believer in any of this, but I love talking about it. Firm believer in almost none of it. Come on, a devil monkey. A devil monkey. Really?
Okay,
A monkey terrorizing something. Like
I could see it if they have something
in New
like
Hampshire.
going
In New
on.
Hampshire.
Yeah, why not?
Alright, whatever.
There's been weirder things.
No, there hasn't.
Okay. They are said to be very aggressive when encountered, especially against humans and their dog companions. It is also said these cryptid creatures will kill and feed off of livestock, and that they make god-awful hooting and hollering sounds.
You think it sounds like that?
No, I think it's worse.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty rugged.
But I mean, for a human impression of a monkey, yes, that was pretty rugged.
Can you just imagine? It's like, these people are like, it's a monkey. It's like, literally. He's like, oh, with the dog companions. No, it's a fucking dog growling at your other dog. It's just making this god-awful, like, mangy... And the people are like, oh my god, this poor monkey.
You're turning into a pterodactyl over there. Some scientists give explanation for the monkeys, include them having escaped from captivity, such as during bad weather events, or that they have been released, or escaped from research facilities, or by owners keeping them illegally. Others say it could be a species we once believed to be extinct.
In New Hampshire. A species we believe to be extinct in New Hampshire.
I mean, why not?
What do you mean, why not? We don't, what? We have, all of a sudden somebody's like, yo, there's a monkey out here that survived millions of years ago and it's alive now. Alright.
I mean, there are weirder tales out there.
Alright, I'll let you continue.
Bigfoot, for example.
This is one of these cryptoids that I cannot get behind right here. I cannot get behind this. There's no way.
I can. It's pretty cool.
We need to find someone that actually lived through this event.
Apparently I did in Danbury and didn't know about it.
Exactly, so it couldn't have been. You know what I mean? We need to find someone who actually lived through this event and be like, did you see this monkey?
I didn't.
We need to go on the Maury Povich show and be like, did this guy see this monkey? And that doesn't work, because what if they actually believed that they saw the monkey? You know?
Well, then they believe it.
But what if it wasn't a monkey? What if it was just a dog with mange?
Oh, what if it was...
I can get behind the 7-foot monkey ape man, but a devil monkey terrorizing a town, I'm not getting. I can't.
Okay, well, if anybody out there knows or has seen a devil monkey, please post. Please comment.
I'm instantly gonna call you on it too.
Please comment, because I really want to see if someone's actually encountered them, just to prove John wrong.
All right, I'll let you continue on this one. Absolute nonsense, but continue.
You're absolute nonsense. One story that came up was about a town called Danville, and it was said to have been harassed by a monkey in 2001 for 2 weeks, with more than one witness. So if you're from Danville, please drop a comment.
But you have to be in 2001 when the monkey attacked, because I don't believe it.
Seriously. The first sighting was taken on August 21st, 2001, and was seen by a firefighter by the name of David Kimball.
Bet. We need to find this firefighter.
So, David Kimball, please.
If you're
hearing this, please message us. We want to know. He said he saw it jump down from a tree and right back up into it. The monkey, he described it, was the Humboldt woolly monkey, which was not native to New England.
Those are the monkeys that I was messing with at the Magic Kingdom when I was out there, and I was like, and they kept doing it back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's wild. What are the odds? There's no way there was one of those up here. There's no way.
I mean, I guess if someone illegally had one...
Why is it a devil monkey? What makes it the devil monkey? Because it terrorized the town?
Maybe it had fangs and started biting people.
Maybe.
Maybe it went vampire-ish.
Well, if I let you finish your story, we'll find out. Shit, sorry.
Yeah, I know. You're just keep interrupting me.
Beyond this. Beyond it. I'm above this.
You are not. The Humboldt woolly monkey, which was not native to New England, let alone anywhere in the U.S., the townsfolk tried to capture it, and shortly after their many failed attempts, it disappeared. That seems to be the only sighting for the devil monkey in New Hampshire, but there are reports of them all over the United States from Louisiana to Idaho.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
I found the Danbury one, though. I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I did
What
some
did it
real
say?
hardcore digging. No, they just same thing. It disappeared after a couple weeks of people trying to catch it. So maybe it was like a wild monkey and it got smart and it was like, screw these guys. Maybe it grew up. Maybe it grew up near the Seabrook power plant. Where is Danville? That's it. Hold on. We need to settle something. I need to find out where Danville is. All right, hold on. Let's see. Where's the map? Let's go. Danville. Where's Sandown? Sandown, Kingston. Oh, so it's like it's like the coast almost. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's pretty. Yeah, it's close to Seabrook. Could have grew up in the Seabrook power plant. Could have been a dog that got loose in the Seabrook power plant and mutated. And mutated. It could have mutated. It could have mutated.
It could have mutated into a monkey.
It could have mutated. Well, they said it had a dog-like features.
Okay.
Why does it have to be a dog?
Why does it have to be a monkey?
Why does it have to be anything?
I don't know.
How do we know that
People
this
just come up
firefighter?
with these
How do we
things.
know this firefighter wasn't just like, we should all go along with this because we're a small town in New Hampshire and we need to be on the news?
I don't know. But maybe we should look into this a little bit more.
I mean, that was your job. Was that all you got for stories?
I guess so for
All right.
today.
Bet. My turn. I got some good stories, and they tie into next week's stories, so they're even better. Am I gonna be able to tell my story, or are we good? You gonna interrupt me really?
Yes. Always.
All right, that's fine. So, this next one, this story that I have, literally my favorite cryptid, the Wendigo. So, this one is very similar to the Wendigo. It's basically the same thing, but this is our New England Native Americans version of it. So, the Wendigo originally was a Navajo cryptid, and it's the same as the Chino. It was a human who either became possessed by an evil spirit or they committed a terrible crime, cannibalism, withholding food from a starving person, working in black magic, all sorts of things, which caused its heart to turn to ice.
Ouch, wouldn't that be painful?
Nah, that'd be awesome. Could you imagine just having a center of your core just being ice? No heart? You don't have to worry about blood pumping?
I mean, that would be kind of cool.
The only thing I'd have to worry about is summertime.
Yeah, because then you'd melt.
I just moved to
like
Alaska.
Olaf.
I moved to Alaska.
You'd melt like Olaf.
Maybe Olaf's a Wendigo.
Maybe.
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense.
It would.
Because Elsa's dark magic. Tell me she's not.
She is, in a way.
Alright. You done really interrupting?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Alright, no. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
You love
That's
it.
fine. So, like the Wendigo, Chinos are gigantic, emaciated, but they are also lipless because they hungrily chew their lips off. And their screams will kill anyone who hears them. They get their power from a human-shaped lump of ice, which is what their heart turns into. So their heart turns into a human-shaped lump of ice in their chest. And the story that I have today is from Passamaquoddy, Maine. So, whoever wrote this, if this is true, you gotta come forth. So, many years ago, a young newlywed couple set off to spend the winter in the woods. Ooh, sounds hot. Romantic.
Mm-hmm. Nice fire.
They're following the traditional pattern of their people, where their tribe would come together in the summer and fall, when food was plentiful, then split into smaller units during the winter when food was scarcer. Oh, alright, so it's baby making season. They're splitting up, coming back, food's not scarce when they come back. That's fine, that's hot. Alright, I can get behind that. I could get behind that. Let's find a cabin in Passamaquoddy, Maine.
Let's go, right now.
Well, maybe not after this story, I'm telling you.
Well, let's hear it.
The couple set up camp by a river deep in the forest. One day while her husband was out hunting, the wife heard something large stomping outside her tent. Now, I don't know why these people always think that things stomping outside their tent is a fucking cryptid. Like, what if it's a fucking movie? You're in Maine!
It could have been a bear.
It could have been. But, it wasn't. It was a Chinu. He stuck his head into the tent and glowered at her hungrily. Alright, okay, I'm believing this so far. Thinking quickly, the woman said, "Welcome, father." That's a little weird.
What?
The Chino had been planning to eat her, but was surprised at being addressed so politely, so she invited him in to come sit by the fire.
Why does she have a fire burning in the tent?
Well, it's probably like a wigwam, you know, like the
Wouldn't it burn the tent down?
No, that's why they have the hole in the top, so the smoke goes out, and it keeps the inside of the tent warm.
Okay.
When she heard her husband approaching, she went outside and explained that a Chino was inside their home. If we were in a tent in the woods, and you were like, "Hey, there's a monster in our tent. Be cool. I'm not gonna be cool. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, cool, let's just go sit in the tent.
With the Chinu. Yeah, let's just go
So,
die.
her husband goes in, and he also addresses the Chinu, his father. The Chinu was so pleased that it declared it would not eat them, at least not immediately, and moved in with them.
What?
So now this is no longer monogamy. This is polygamy. They're in a polygamous relationship with a Chinu.
Oh my god, this is just getting weirder.
So the Chinu lived with them for many weeks. In some ways, it was quite helpful. For example, it was so tall, the husband would ride upon its back while hunting game.
Uh-huh.
Oh, alright. It's useful. It's useful.
It
also
very
offered
useful.
protection against other Chinus that roam through the woods. How many Chinus are in the main woods?
Damn.
How many of y'all are taking food from starving people? Rude.
Right.
The young couple watched in amazement as their Chinu killed a rival Chinu that wanted to eat them. Then they watched in horror as their quote-unquote father ate the corpse. Despite the benefits,
Ew.
they realized that at some point they too would anger the Chinu and it would eat them. The next day, the woman made a mixture of water and salt and offered it to the Chinu as a beverage. The Chinu greedily drank it and down almost immediately vomited up a human-shaped lump of ice. This was the heart of the dead rival it had recently eaten, and the woman threw it on the fire. The Chinu shrank in size and vomited up another human-shaped ice lump. Clearly her quote-unquote father had been busy eating other Chinus, and the woman tossed this on the fire as well. Finally, he vomited up a third icy lump and transformed into a little old man. As the woman went to toss the ice onto the fire, the former Chinu grabbed her hand. "Daughter, wait," he cried. "That is my heart. If it melts, I will die." He took it from her and swallowed it down.
Oh.
That's a little
Okay.
weird. Alright. Due to the efforts of the woman, the Chino was cured. Well, at least mostly. Alright, that's a little weird. See, now, with the Wendigos, they're not so polite. You're not inviting a Wendigo in. If a Wendigo is hunting you, it's going to take you out. A Wendigo is almost like a skinwalker.
I feel like the Chinu would be like that, and this is just a
No,
fake
see, because
story.
you can't reason with a Wendigo. Like, every story I've ever heard about them, they're not like people anymore. Once you've become a Wendigo, you cannot transform back. That's it. You're a Wendigo. You eat people. You run through the woods. I mean, modern folklore now has brought it up to where he's got a stag on his head. So, like, the main enemy in the new Pet Cemetery is a Wendigo. That's what's bringing back the dead.
Yep.
Which doesn't make sense because I've never heard of them bringing back the dead. But you know,
it's just something new to add to the story.
But they're not nice. They're not nice like that. You can't reason with a Wendigo. It's going to take you and eat you. They're also they're like the Skinwalker. If you don't know what a Skinwalker is, it's something that can imitate people. So if you're out in the woods and you hear something, you're miles out. Let's say you're hiking up in Pittsburgh or the White Mountains, right? You hear something calling to you, and there has been no one around for miles. It's a Wendigo trying to eat you, or a Skinwalker. They can imitate people on spot. There's millions of stories out there about it. I'm gonna have to do it.
Creepy.
There are so many. I'm gonna have to do an entire episode on Wendigos. Like it's
fun.
wild.
I kind of want to meet one just to see it.
But yeah, right. It'll kill you on spot.
It probably do.
On spot. Dead.
It'll kill me.
But I mean, there's an exact, basically the same story with a Chino with a positive outcome. This one's a Native American folklore story, so I figured I'd share it. It's also it's one of the Passamaquoddy tribes that was up there. It's another story from them. So, one autumn, in a place that is now called Canada, but in those days was the land of the Passamaquoddy tribe, a girl and her 3 older brothers went to the forest to hunt for game over the winter. They found a good place to make camp and built a wigwam. See, that's what I was talking about, the wigwam with the fire that comes out through the middle.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
See,
so
they said tent. They said tent. Same difference.
When she said tent, it made no sense. Why would you put a fire inside of a tent?
So, since she was the youngest, each morning after her 3 older brothers went hunting, the girl took care of the camp, gathered fresh firewood, repaired holes in their wigwam, and prepared dinner before nightfall. The brothers would return carrying the game they captured. Over dinner, they would all share stories of the day's adventure. One night at dinner, the brothers were silent. "Why are you all so quiet?" said their sister. "Today I saw strange footprints to the north," said her eldest brother, "like those of a man, but much larger." Ooh. "So did I," said the brother who ventured south. The third brother who hunted to the west nodded in agreement. No one needed to say anything else because they were all thinking the same thing. A Chino must be nearby. The cruel, brutal giant cannibal far from the icy north.
After a tense minute, the eldest brother smiled and said, "Oh, it must have just been tracks of a bear," and they all laughed with relief and joked how they'd been fooled by mere bear tracks. But the girl did not laugh. She too had seen tracks when she had gathered berries to the east and knew they were not the tracks of a bear. They were from a Chinu monster. Before sunrise the next morning, the brothers left to hunt, but the girl did not tend to her usual tasks. She cleared the wigwam and piled each bearskin that she and her brothers slept upon in a single pile in the center. Beside the bearskin pile, she laid baskets filled with berries and fruit. She gathered fresh firewood, then sat by the fire and waited. While the sun was still low in the sky, a very large shadow was cast over her fire. Out of the woods stepped the terrible Chinu monster. Huge and horrible looking, he looked fiercely at her. The sister smiled pleasantly, and the beast said, "Grandfather, my heart is glad that at last you have come to see us. Where have you been for so long? I prepared a fire for your lunch. Or perhaps you would like to lay down inside first and rest. Your bed is made, and there are baskets of fruit." Number one, who in their right mind is going to be calm when they see a Chinu? Now, these Native American tribes, they always go over like all this folklore, when you're younger. And a lot of it, I don't know if it's not real or not. Like I said, there could be Chinus out here. But a lot of it's to teach you valuable lessons about life.
Yeah.
Now, if you're 6 or 7 and you're getting told these stories, when you're 15 or 16, 17 years old, and you see a Chino, you're not going to be like, "Yo, bro, what's up? You want to come on? I made a fire. Come eat this food."
Oh, no, I'm running away, scared.
I'm going to boot
screaming.
it. And then my brothers are going to find my dead corpse.
Yep.
But that's not what happened here.
I don't know how.
No.
I don't know how they held their composure, because I couldn't.
So she goes, "You look tired from your travels." The Chinu monster was amazed beyond measure at such a greeting, where he expected yells and prayers, and quite wondered he let himself be led into the wigwam. Yeah, right. The girl said she had brought a suit she had stitched to fit him. She told him to dress himself and be cleaned. He did as she told. He sat inside the wigwam on the bearskin bed. He did not lie down and looked sad but kept quiet. She arose and went out. She kept gathering wood for the fire. The Chinu monster rose and followed her. She was in great fear. Now she thought, "My death is near. He will kill and devour me." The Chinu monster said, "Give me the axe." I ain't giving it shit.
Nope.
She gave it the axe, and he began to cut down all the trees. She had never seen such chopping. The great pines fell right and left like summer saplings. The boughs were hewed and split as if by storm. Soon the pile of wood was twice as high as the top of their wigwam. She cried out, "Grandfather, there is enough. You must be tired from all your cutting. Please rest." So the Chinu monster laid down the axe, walked into the wigwam, sat down on the pile of bearskin rubs, still in grim silence. The girl continued to gather wood and remained silent outside the lodge while he slept. Before darkness fell, her 3 brothers returned from their day's hunt. She walked quickly to them and with a fierce look said, "Brothers, you will be pleased to know our grandfather is in the tent." Surprised, they started to object, but she firmly held her hand outstretched and said, "I am sure grandfather will be glad to hear about your adventures later, but first we must be silent and give him the rest." Now, they don't know that it's a Chinu monster. They think their grandfather came in from the village to come stay with them. Now, when they come in, if they're calm, this is wild. At that moment, the huge hairy head of the Chinu monster looked out of the wigwam. Alright, that's a wrap right there. I see a huge hairy head come out. That's not my grandfather. I'm out of here. Before her brothers could cry out with alarm, the girl said with a smile, "Grandfather, you have awakened. I am glad because now your grandsons have come back and we can all have dinner." Turning to her brothers, she said with a light voice as she could muster, "And how was it with the hunt today?" "Not so good," gulped one of the brothers, staring fixedly at the Chinu monster. "All I have is his hair." "And I a goose," mumbled her second brother, also staring at the Chinu monster. "I got a deer," offered her third brother. The Chinu monster spoke. "Granddaughter," he said, have your brothers brought no other game?" "Whatever your grandsons have hunted today, I will cook you for dinner, grandfather," said the girl, "in honor of your visit." The Chinu monster said nothing, but disappeared into the woods. See, now I'm panicking. As soon as this man disappears... Now, I don't know if he looks exactly like the Wendigo does. I couldn't find any really good pictures, so I'm going to have to research it a little more to post on the page so you guys can see it too. But... as far as I'm concerned, this thing looks like a Wendigo, and I'm not comfortable with that, running back into the woods.
No. I'd be terrified, run away.
So, he returns, and he's carrying a full-grown moose, one under each arm, and a third wrapped around his shoulders. That night, they enjoyed a feast like no other since they had set up camp. When it was time to sleep, the Chinu monster was so big he filled the wigwam. Well, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
So the girl and her 3 brothers had to lay down on the dirt outside, but it was more than the roots and rocks underneath that disturbed their sleep. Each one lay awake at night in terror. In the days that followed, they began to realize that the Chinu monster was useful to have around as he could hunt better than 20 grown men. After a few days, he built his own wigwam nearby, and the brothers and sisters moved back into their own. He ate most of what he captured, but there was plenty of bear meat and deer left over for the rest of them. And the pile of skins they had been saving for trading grew and grew so high that before long they began to worry it would take up many trips to transport it in their canoe. They stopped worrying that he would eat them, though the chance of dying by accident were quite high, since he swung trees around like kindling, didn't watch where anything would smash, and the 3 brothers and their sister were far too polite and respectful to correct him about anything. I ain't correcting one about nothing.
I'm not correcting
If it's
him.
not eating me, that thing can do whatever it wants.
Yep.
Eventually, the winter days warmed. Go ahead.
It can eat all the food.
Oh, yeah.
It can
Eat everything.
take everything.
You can have everything. Leave me the
have.
scraps.
Yeah, I don't want it.
Eventually, the winter days warmed into spring. One day, the girl said, "Grandfather, soon it will be time for us to return to our village." The Chino monster said, "I would like to come with you, but your people would scream if they saw me. I need your help." "Of course, Grandfather, anything at all," said the girl. "Build me a sweat lodge and bring hot coals to it." Now, that's a fucking weird request.
Seriously.
The girl was surprised he would ask for this, since she knew that lore said the Chinu monster was from the icy north and he always sat far back from the campfires. Still, they built the sweat lodge, and when it was finished, they had brought in plenty of hot coals. The Chinu monster went inside the sweat lodge and pulsed with an orange hue from the heat of the burning coals. But the Chinu called out, "Bring more hot coals." This they did several times. The girl heard the Chinu monster moan and cough, then she heard no more sounds. "Grandfather, are you all right?" she said. "Yes," said the Chino in a voice they should barely recognize. "Bring more coals." So they brought more hot coals to the sweat lodge and stood a great distance away as it was searing with heat. After many long minutes, the door creaked open. Out stepped what must have been the Chino monster, yet seemed so much more like a normal old man, hunched over and wrinkled, with a white beard that reached to his knees. His wounds had healed. His teeth no longer grinned widely all the time, and the expression on his face seemed gentle. He leaned over and coughed, and out came a piece of ice, the shape of a man. The girl knew what this must be. It was well known that the heart of the Chinu monster was made of ice and shaped like a man. The icy heart is what made him so fierce. "Throw it in the fire, granddaughter," he said, and she picked it up and threw it into the campfire, but it was so fiercely cold that it put out all the flames. So she restarted the fire, and her brothers chopped the icy heart into fragments with a hatchet, until bit by bit they finally melted it. The man who used to be the Chinu monster then smiled. "Let's go," he said. So they hauled their piles of bear and deer skins and baskets brimming with dried meat back to the village, where they traded the skins for whatever they wanted and shared the dried meat with everyone. And they all lived happily together for many years. See, now, that's a Native American folklore. That's not like someone telling this story. So what that makes me believe is that's basically them saying, hey, if you're nice to people, then good things will come out of it. You could be nice to someone and they could be a wicked, helpful hand to you.
Exactly.
That's not saying that the Chinu's not real, because like I said, the Chinu's basically a name for the Wendigo up here of these Native Americans.
Right.
But, I mean, way different. That is not one. I don't believe that one. I'm all set. The Wendigo, though, I'm all about that. That thing's real. These, too nice. They're way too nice.
Yeah, they're too nice to be called a monster.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a monster. It's only a monster if you're mean to it. So it's basically saying you can't judge a book by its cover. See?
Exactly.
Look at that. Native American lore down to a T.
Yeah, you learn something new every day, right?
See, now this next scripted, it's going to tie into next week's episode. So it's a little sneak peek story. This is one of my favorite alien abductions. So a favorite podcast of mine, Time Suck, did a pretty big piece on this. And they also did one, I believe, on Scared to Death. Now, these are both run by the same guy, Dan Cummings. I mean, I stand by this man. I listen to his podcast every single day. And so I figured it's only appropriate for me to tell the story myself. So it's about gray aliens and the Betty and Barney Hill abduction. Gray aliens are basically a humanoid cryptoid with no nose or reproductive organs, typically seen unclothed and all over the U.S., and usually the main contender in alien movies and abductions. Now, I mean, I This is like one of my biggest fears, to be abducted by an alien.
What do you think?
Right next to sharks. I don't know. Like, what do you do? No one will ever fucking believe you.
No.
No one will believe you, and you're just seen as the crazy dude.
Yeah, you'll be put in a nut house within 5 seconds.
Yeah, but what if it really happened?
Well,
what if it really happens?
Well, we can't read your mind, so we can't know if it actually
It's wild, though. Like, imagine just one day just disappearing. You get abducted and you never got brought back.
Yeah, that would be kind of creepy.
That's weird as hell. So, this one happened in September. It was September 19th to the 20th of 1961. So, Betty and Barney Hill saw a UFO on September 19th, 1961 at around 10:30 p.m. The Hills were driving back to Portsmouth. See? New Hampshire. See?
Yep.
Now, this is what scares me even more. This is New Hampshire.
Yes.
Okay, this isn't like Nevada. This isn't out west. This isn't down south. This is up
like,
here.
Right near us.
Yeah. That's like a 30-minute drive.
Yeah, that's not far at all.
So, they were on... Well, it's also like 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, but still, it could come back.
Nah, we don't talk about that. So they were on their way back from a vacation in Niagara Falls in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. They later saw the UFO fly above them and even saw the pilots. The one pilot continued to look at Barney and communicating and telling him to stay where you are and keep looking. After they returned home, they noticed strange things like their watches had stopped working. Barney noted that the leather strap for the binoculars was torn, though he could not recall it tearing. The toes of his best-dressed shoes were also inexplicably scraped. Once they returned home, they mentioned how the drive should have been 4 hours, but it took them 7 hours. Betty had vivid dreams about the abduction. She had said she had never had such odd dreams. This happened for 5 days. In a dream, she and Barney encountered men who surrounded their car. She lost consciousness. She then realized that she was being forced by 2 small human-like creatures to walk in a forest in the nighttime and seeing Barney walk behind her. This is wild.
I don't want it.
She called to him, but he seemed to be in a trance or sleepwalking. The human-like creatures wore matching uniforms. They appeared like the normal description of a gray alien. Their skin was a grayish color.
I thought the grayish aliens didn't wear clothes, though.
Most of the time, they're not reported as wearing clothes. But, I mean, there's several other instances of aliens, like gray, tall aliens or small men wearing a uniform, picking people up. I mean, these happen...
sounds like Men in Black.
Yeah, this happens all over the United States. This is just one case. All over the United... There's millions and millions of these things. This is why I'm doing an entire episode on it. Millions of people are abducted, and nobody ever believes them.
I wouldn't. It sounds too far-fetched.
Yeah, it does, but how can you say that we are the only people here?
I mean, I get that. We aren't the only people here.
The Milky Way is like our universe. There's millions and millions of universes outside of the Milky Way. We just can't go that far.
I know. And, I mean...
So you're telling me that we are the only sustainable life on any planet around here? No. Exactly. So this isn't that far-fetched.
So
that's what makes it so scary.
I know, but it makes people think it's far-fetched because we can't get out there.
Ugh.
But if they can come here, that means they have better technology than we do.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
Probably. They're probably a lot smarter than we are.
So, in these dreams, she describes how she and Barney were taken into a metallic craft with the help of a ramp. Once inside, she and Barney were separated, and she was told that if they are together, the experiments will take longer. As she entered the room, 2 new aliens appeared. The examiner told Betty that it would conduct tests to see the differences between humans and the craft's occupants. It examined her, cut some of her hair, and saved some of her fingernails. After examining her legs and feet, it then used a dull knife similar to a letter opener to scrape some of her skin onto what resembled cellophane. He punctured her with needles to test her nervous system. Then it told them to continue their drive.
Okay. A little creepy.
So this is why it took 7 hours, because they were taken and then brought back, and then they basically drove home in like a hypnosis state.
How would they know where to go if they're under hypnosis?
Because the aliens had directed them, continue on your path, continue what you're doing, go home. So they ended up wanting to know what really happened to them, because subconscious always stores all these like things, and anything, even trauma that you go through. If you go to a hypnotist, they can pull traumas from you. But a lot of the times, sometimes your brain's so advanced that it can make stuff up. Like, I don't want to say force feed, but that's the best way I can describe it. A therapist can force feed you ideas while you're in hypnosis to bring out some of the trauma, but your brain makes some of it up. But so while under hypnosis, Betty's account was very similar to the events of her 5 dreams about the UFO abduction. But there were also a few differences. Her capture and release story was different. The technology on the craft was different. The short men had a significantly different physical appearance than the ones in her dreams. The order of the abduction event was also different from in Betty's dream account. She filled in many details that were not in her dream and contradicted some of her dream content. It is interesting that Barney and Betty's memories, now they were hypnotized separately, not in the same room. And their hypnotic regression were consistent, but contradicted some of the information that Betty's dreams had. But they had similar experiences. So now I have images that I'm going to attach to our Facebook page so that you can see these. Now, they described these gray aliens to a T separately. Now, they were not together when they did this, and this was all subconscious, like they went under hypnotized, and they described the same men.
That's creepy.
Yeah, so...
There's gotta be something out there then.
Now, Betty exhibited considerable emotional distress during her capture and examination. Dr. Simon ended one of the... So now this was her hypnotist. Ended one of the sessions early because tears were flowing down her cheeks and she was in agony.
Ow. How is she in agony if she's just... like talking about it?
Exactly. Isn't that weird? So she was in pain during hypnosis.
That makes no sense.
Now, another thing that's been known is Greys use their tractor beam, I call it, because that's video games and all sorts of shit.
Tractor beam.
Because they pick the tractors up and the cows.
I
so that's why they call it a tractor beam. But they use that to paralyze people during abduction. So when you're in that, you're paralyzed. You can't move. So it's basically like their version of anesthesia.
Yeah, no. I'm all set. If I ever see a UFO, I'm running away.
So, if you guys are definitely interested in hearing some of this creepy stuff that creeps me the hell out, I'm going to be sweating and not being able to sleep for weeks after researching this. Then join us next week on Unexplained New England. And as always, stay spooky.